There once was a very small person who went by the name of Winthrope The Mushroom Boy. He lived alone in a far-off land where only he had been discovered. One of the distinguishing features of this land was the unusual multitude of mushrooms that sprouted there. While Winthrope wasn't a big fan of an all-mushroom diet, he had long ago made peace with the fact that he had to eat what there was to eat and not complain. And what there was to eat were mushrooms. Over the years, the result of this limited dietary intake had caused adjustments to the mushroom boy's anatomy. His eyes, nose, and mouth had devolved into a single white hole, and his left side was somewhat green, his right side somewhat blue. To cap things off, he had grown a pointy white crown. At night, Winthrope liked to stand on top of the hill and watch the moon rise. Then, as the air grew moist with impending dew, mushrooms started to appear before him. They popped up here, they popped up there. There were clusters of chanterelles, cartloads of cremines, plenty of portobellos, oodles of oysters, boatloads of buttons, masses of morels, several stacks of shiitakes, and exactly enough enokis. Whenever Winthrope felt the urge, he could change his size. Today he decided to shrink himself down smaller, 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 and smaller. He shrank and shrank until the mushrooms towered over him. This made the available food more than abundant. When he felt even the slightest pang, he could reach out in any direction and take a bite at his pleasure. He began to move to his left as he felt like a meal. He never knew what was going to happen next, as mushrooms affected Winthrope in many different ways. He broke off a piece, threw it into the air, and captured it with his mouth. Then he stopped. Suddenly he felt that familiar surge in his tummy, and his world began to change. He saw stark lines of red, cold lines of blue, jagged lines of pink, black, purple, and yellow. Then he shifted left, and then the lines started to rush in towards him. Slowly, softly, all the chaos faded to white. The mushrooms started to dance before him. Some changed size by shrinking, some changed size by growing. Others jumped into the air at different angles and happily multiplied. Softly, gently, the fungi faded, and a swirl of colors and music started to merge into sights and sounds he couldn't identify. He decided to describe it simply as a medley of mushroom mania set to randomly repeating music. He thought he heard his own voice calling out a question. Winthrope? 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 Then the voice faded away and there was a long, colorful silence. Things slowed down and Winthrope could clearly see he was still hungry. Hungry for more food, hungry for more entertainment, hungry for hunger itself to end. So he took another bite. A multicolored bit flew up into the air and descended into his mouth. This time the mushrooms picked up the pace, dancing, shrinking, growing, and floating with frenetic joy. Needless to say, the musty taste will be rather familiar. And the shifting patterns of color took control, speaking out in a sort of poem. Red is not dead if blue is not true. Green takes the cake when the pink baby drools. Yellow can blind you as it turns into purple. Be careful not to trip as you cross the mushroom portal. A bit of orange completes the prism, but there's something shaky with the rhythm. Winthrope is alone in his colorful world, where his demons dance and his angels swirl. changing patterns at crazy angles as logic and reason disentangle. What once was too many is now much too few, and what happens next comes into view. As the jigsaw puzzle pieces find the right place, his foot falls asleep, and his arms start to race. Winthrope is alone in his colorful world, where his demons dance and his angels swirl. Now the distance between laughter and tears has narrowed to the point where it disappears, and manic elation feels the same as despair. Even simple emotions need nursing care. What is the reason? When is the pause? And what is the answer when there isn't a cause? Winthrope is alone in his colorful world, where his demons dance and his angels swirl. At the end of the tunnel is a beautiful bridge that shimmers like icing on an electric grid. A fantastic structure rising impossibly high, scraping the edge of the rainbow sky. Is this but a figment of the imagination, or the result of mental constipation? Winthrope is alone in his colorful world, where his demons dance and his angels swirl. The bridge to nowhere was built for a dream, a useless structure with a musical theme. The steel is rusty and so are the screws. All of this is yesterday's news. The time was early, but the hour was late. Long reigned the king of the mushroom state. Winthrope is alone in his colorful world, where his demons dance and his angels swirl. Winthrope is alone in his colorful world, where his demons dance and his angels swirl. Winthrope is alone in his colorful world. Then Winthrope decided he should shift his reality back to the place where he was at the start. He grew, and grew. And that was, and this is, the end.